Hi, my name is Tim Bradrick, and this is my code discussion for my capstone project, Milestone 5. Um, let's see here. We have the Unity scene. This is an overview of the neighborhood area that I've created for this week. And I'm just going to go through some of the different scripts that I had created and possibly some of the animations and so forth that I set up in Unity. First off, we have a basic I button and a home entrance area. Um, if you take a look at the sample screen inside of Unity, we have the I button here, um, and that will take us back to the beginning, um, and then jump into the world again. Um, we also have the hole in the tree to go back into the squirrel's home, and then the additional uh, wardrobe features and so forth. And let's just pick something out real quick. Um, and let's see here. So there's some basic functions, and what I needed to do with this is I was getting to a point where I was detecting touch events on several different items. So what I had created is I combined most of them, not quite all of them, but most of them. I had combined them into a script, touch controls, and just doing one touch detection for several of these different events, um, and then set up it's on my camera. So there we go on the side here. If we look over here in this area, um, and each of the colliders that you see in the game, one you notice right here, that's the touch control, and that's what's making up the bulk of all of these items here. Each one is a different collider to move the squirrel in different directions, but there's also the I button and the jump button and so forth. I did this trying to limit the number of events detecting touch, um, and just having just as few as possible inputs detecting touch, and trying to um, take that information and distribute it up to the different colliders and so forth. And that was one of the things I did in the past 2 weeks, also including spring break. The actual I button itself is very simple, just loads the initial level. The home entrance, that still has its own touch event attached to it because it exists in the world instead of as a GUI layer. And that just goes and loads the home area. One of the activities, or one of the items in the GUI, take a look at it real quick, are the hearts. The default squirrel has 3 health. We could go through and choose a um, different squirrel, and we'll just do that. And instead, let's keep a health of 1, and just take a look at what the resulting number of hearts is. And there we go. We have just 1 heart there, and it'll adjust according to whatever the heart value is that you pick. Let's see what else we got going here. The way the health is allocated on the screen, there are actually 7 heart buttons, but most of them will just be null sprites. So here is an example of the list of different heart items, and scrolling over, It's just the initial one is a heart icon. If we go and look, well, it goes in and removes the heart icon here with that display health. And let me get that up. What it does is it compares the number in the name. And so we got heart health 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. And that compares it with the actual health, maximum health value of the squirrel, and allocates a sprite based on it. If it is within that health value, it gives it a healthy heart. Let's see here. There's the healthy heart image. If it is over the standard health, it gives it a bonus heart. If it is under the standard health, it gives it a damaged heart. And if it's not even in existence, it gets a value of null, so it just blanks out, and you don't see the additional values there above it, the maximum. And that's how the hearts are displayed. The acorns is quite a bit simpler. That is a GUI text item, and over here it just starts out with the word total, and it allocates the value based on the squirrel's total being kept in the generic class for the squirrel. And that's a very simple text right there, or script right there. Okay. Now, a little bit more complicated activity going on here. The climbable object, and that's integrated with the squirrel controller and so forth. And I will show you what those features are here now. If we take a look at the climbable tree, which is this one right here, zoom out a bit, see if I can select it. It's a very complicated object here. If we take a look, it's composed of several different images. And let's see if we can get that to scroll up here. Climbable tree. We have the tree stump down at the bottom. That is composed of two colliders. One is a physics collider to prevent the squirrel from moving into that space except for at the bottom. And there's two little overlap areas. Zoom in on it. So if a squirrel is coming in from the side, it doesn't hit that inner rectangle. It has to go down and underneath and intentionally move up towards the tree trunk. And then once it touches that, the animation is changed to the climbing animation. Next is the actual tree trunk itself, and that goes all the way up to the top here, and there's a collider. That collider switches back and forth between being a trigger and being a physics collider. When the squirrel is climbing it, it's a trigger collider, and the squirrel is able to climb up. And then we have two branches. One of the branches, on each of the branches is one collider. This is a physics collider to prevent the squirrel from falling. And we see the same thing on the other side. And then we have three leaves, and they're just big sets of leaves with a trigger collider. When the squirrel enters the trigger, the leaves fade out. And then there are a platform collider that detects whether the squirrel is on top or not, and it applies a little bit of gravity when it is within this to kind of keep the squirrel stuck on the branch, but still able to move quickly around. And then once it's out of that collider, it starts applying a more forceful gravity to make the squirrel fall faster onto the ground, or if there's another branch and so forth. And then there's another one on the other side. And then taking a look at the entrance, let's see here. There's the climbing entrance. Get that moved over. Um, it's just pretty basic on trigger enter. Um, you enter the ascender, and the ascender is in the squirrel controller script, and then it switches both of the colliders to trigger so that the squirrel can pass through it, not being stopped by the physicality of the colliders. And then the Y position of the squirrel is recorded in the generic class for the squirrel. That's so that if when it falls off down to a certain point, and then when those points are equal, it's considered on the ground, and the gravity is turned off on the squirrel. In the squirrel controller, enter ascender. That's what I'm calling the shape here for the trunk is an ascender, and then when I start adding in houses, the houses themselves will have ascenders as well. Take a look here. The ascender method is down at the bottom. Enter the ascender. What it does is there's a value I added into the squirrel player character called the position state, and there's 4 possible positions that the squirrel can take. Is the squirrel on the ground? Is it on an ascender? Is it on a platform? Or is it in free fall? It obviously starts out on the ground, and let's see here. When it enters the tree trunk, that's an ascender, so it's set as an ascender. I think I'm at the wrong place. There we go. It's set as an ascender. The animation ascending is set to true, so it will change the animation of the squirrel. And then I also had to adjust the sorting layer. The different sorting layers that I have right here. Small items I'm going to place on the ground. The tree trunk that I demonstrated earlier, and the tree trunk in this climbable tree is also a small on the ground layer. The default is where all the other objects, including the squirrel, starts out at. Up 1 level is the tree trunk. Primarily that's so that the tree trunk is rendered above the stump. Let me get that back. Okay. And then up 2 levels is in the branches. And then object in the branches, which include the squirrel, for example, the grapes and the acorn, is also on that level, the rendering level. And then up above that are the leaves. And then if there's world buttons and so on, the hole in the tree is a world button, and then the UI layer is the jump button and the information button and so forth, so that they are rendered above those other objects. And that's basically what the ascender does. When the squirrel exits, it runs the exit ascender, and it just basically undoes what was just previously done. It sets it, if the squirrel is touching a platform, it stays okay on that platform. Otherwise, the squirrel enters a state of free fall. And then down here in the update section, for the squirrel, let's see here. If it hits the ground, if the squirrel is falling and it finally gets to the ground, it's moved back to the default rendering layer. And if the squirrel leaves the ascender, but is still marked as ascending, this turns off the ascender so that the animation can return back to the normal running. And then here is where it detects whether the squirrel in a falling state has finally hit the ground. So it's looking at the velocity to see if it stopped moving. Okay. And then that's the parts of